welcome back to the third episode of the Purple Podcast. How's everyone doing tonight? All right, that sounds good. So, I'd like to thank you all for listening again. I'm going to say that at the beginning of every single one of these because I do appreciate you if you're listening. So, thank you. And I guess we'll jump into it here. We've had a solo podcast. We've had 3 people on a podcast. And now it's just going to be 2 of us. And with that, I'd like to welcome Michael Meredith to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
How you feeling, Mikey? You know, big weekend for our friends back home. Desmond Ritter with an AAC championship going to the college football playoffs. Let's go Bearcats. And, you know, Mike wasn't able to attend the game. And there was a specific reason as to why he was not able to attend. He was too busy doing things. And I'll let him tell you what he was doing.
This is true. I unfortunately was not able to make the Cincinnati Conference Championship game because I was too busy winning the Class 6A state championship in Kentucky.
All right, baby. Mikey, there you go. So, I was kind of thinking, growing up, I remember always looking at your brothers because Mike has some older brothers who are a bit older than him. How much older are they than you?
So Jake is 8 years and Mason is 10.
So some decent range there.
Yep.
So we grew up. We were kind of watching them play high school, and where we're from, it's St. X High School, St. Xavier High School, the Tigers, baby. And they both went there. And I guess if anyone's really a St. X guy, Mike, you could say it's Mike. Your family and everything.
Yeah,
you know?
That's fair. My dad went there. My uncle went there, and obviously both my brothers. Had a cousin go there, so it runs in the family.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like for a while there we were a bit better at football, maybe you could say. You know, we were a little more consistent.
Could definitely say that.
So your brother Mason won in 2004.
He did. As a junior.
Jacob went in 2008.
Correct.
But lost, and he graduated in 2009, so he wasn't there for that following season.
Right.
But he got some toy bowls too, which are the middle school championship. And you know, me nor Mike being from the same grade, we didn't happen to win a toy bowl. We didn't win state. Came close. A semifinal exit. Rondell Moore had different thoughts about us attending the championship, and you know what? That's fine. Fair enough. But that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about the 2021 St. X Tiger State Champions. And
exactly.
You know, Mike's a coach on that team. It's his first year coaching. So kind of tell me about a little bit how you got into that position, what you were kind of going for.
Well, so for those that don't know, I spent my time throughout college. I went to UK and I worked with the football team, with the equipment staff, just because I loved being around the game, and it also was a way for me to pay for my school, which was tremendous.
No doubt.
And once I started figuring out I knew I wanted to coach, I had some relationships built up with the coaches there, and I was lucky enough to, get my foot in the door. That way, they were kind enough to allow me to sit in on whatever types of meetings I wanted to. I had full access to the film room. They really had my back in that regard, which was awesome for me because I was able to grow my football knowledge exponentially. And so I knew I wanted to coach. And I thought for the longest time throughout college that I wanted to take the collegiate path. Mm-hmm. I was looking for GA spots. Graduate assistant coaching jobs.
For those who don't know, GA would be
graduate assistant. So you graduate from undergrad.
Yes, I did know myself. I was just saying for you all.
Sure.
Sorry, go ahead.
So you graduate undergrad, you enroll in grad school, and you're also an assistant coach. And it's like a full ride scholarship, monthly stipend. So it's not like a salary position. It's the way that essentially all coaches get their foot in the door.
I was actually just about to say, didn't Luke Fickle do that? I'm pretty sure he did.
I'm sure he did.
I think he did at Ohio State.
Stoops did it.
Former players often.
Yeah, former players. A lot of NFL head coaches get their foot in the door. I mean, it's essentially just how it works for whatever reason. You just got to climb that ladder. But I didn't really have any good leads. You know, I was just shooting out a bunch of cold emails to tons of schools.
Yeah, how's that work? I mean, didn't Kentucky say you could stay on, but you'd have to do more like equipment stuff?
Yeah, so I could have stayed on. I could have been an equipment graduate assistant, and still kind of been juggling both jobs. And
I wasn't made the right choice.
Yeah, I was ready to coach. You know, I actually wanted to take on coaching responsibility.
Well, there's a whole different perception. Like, I mean, I respect the fuck out of managers, of course, but like, if you're still doing the equipment stuff, you're still partially equipment, and it's like you don't get the same kind of respect.
No doubt. And you know, I felt that and saw that in a lot of ways when I was, you know, that last year when I was. So I signaled plays in for the defense during practice, and then sometimes in games. Most of the time, I was a dummy signaler, so I was doing fake signals, but. You know, you would get that every now and then from certain players, which is understandable because, I mean, yeah, I'm trying to, like, tell you what to do on the field, and at the same time, after practice, I'm going to go wash your clothes.
Yeah, that is tough. I mean, all props for you to doing that because I know, like, we're prideful people. It sucks kind of, but you got to do it.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, you put the work in.
And, you know, collecting that check and paying for school, that's a big help as well.
That made it all worth it.
Well, yeah, with the FAFSA student loans coming up in January, I'm feeling that pressure now, and I can be a little bit envious about that, I guess I could say.
I get that.
To some extent.
So to pick back up where I was shooting out all the cold emails. Nothing stuck. I wasn't shocked, you know. I thought that maybe the smaller schools, you know, I would at least get some interviews.
Right.
But I reached out to Coach Wallace, who's the head coach at St. X, on LinkedIn because I knew his son is a college coach. He coaches at Purdue. And so I was like, I'm sure you know how this works. I'm trying to get my foot in the door as a GA. You know, do you have any advice? Can we meet? Whatever. And he said, you know, he responded. He said, we're having Saturday morning workouts this weekend. Why don't you come back to school and just come check it out, and we can talk and all that. And so I was there for workouts. We grabbed a bite to eat after the workout. Just started talking and, you know, wrapped it up. I learned a lot. I was still looking for GA spots. Next week rolls around, and I'm like, y'all still doing Saturday morning workouts? He's like, yeah. I was like, all right, I'm going to come back by. Yeah. You know, I just started coming back, and, you know, St. X, I'm a proud alumni of that school, and it did great things to set a foundation for my life. And I knew that I always wanted to go back and coach there. No matter what path I took, that's where I wanted to end up. Just because with college coaching, it's a ridiculous amount of hours and so much with recruiting, and
it's a lot more cutthroat as well. I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like, extremely cutthroat, and rat race is a good way to put it in a lot of aspects. You know, not everybody would agree with me, but so lo and behold, an opening occurred. They needed a DB coach, and I thought about it. I didn't really think too long and too hard because an opportunity just to be a position coach and have my own position group and all that was awesome. So I took it. And
that's pretty sweet, though, because when we were freshmen, we had some kind of like GA kind of people come back. Not GA, but like just recently graduated, and none of them were necessarily like actual varsity coaches. They just threw you in at varsity that. That's wild.
Yeah. You know, and they've even said to me, because I was able to start during spring practice with the online school. I was able to move back home and start during spring practice, and they didn't really expect for me to have my own position. I had it in the spring because another coach coaches baseball, but he was going to be coming back, and I was just going to kind of be like a floater for the DBs. But, you know, they talked about how impressed they were with just like my demeanor as a 22-year-old and being able to like handle practices and stuff like that. And no doubt that's all a credit to just being around a collegiate program and all of the stuff that I was able to learn football-wise while being at UK.
That's bizarre. So you and Hunter are now coaches. You're high school coaches.
That's true. Yeah, I haven't even really thought of it like that.
Yeah. Weird. So if any of you most likely do not know Hunter.
I would be shocked.
But anyways, he coaches lacrosse for Manual. He's actually the only one of our friends who was All-State, wasn't he?
Yeah. He's also my cousin.
He's also Michael's cousin. Clap it up for Hunter. All right. So with that, once you get whatever, what are you kind of going for? What's going moving forward? What's the ultimate goal? Where do you see it? Do you think you'll ever get that college itch where you really want to pursue that?
I don't know.
Which is a fine place to be.
I could see it. Yeah. And if it comes, having like tangible coaching experience is going to actually be much easier to get a GA spot.
Oh, I was about to say that too. Like,
I was applying as, technically an equipment manager. That's what so I don't blame him. This equipment manager wants to be a GA? No.
Right.
So if I get that urge, then I'll attack it and I'll go for it, use my connections. But like as of right now in the moment, I mean, I'm super happy. We won state for the first time in 12 years.
12 years. 09 was the last time, everybody.
Yeah. So where I'm at the moment, I'm super pumped. I'm going to finish my master's before I would, leap anywhere else just to get it out of the way. So at least for another year, I would say I'm at least for another season, I'm going to be high school for sure.
You think will you keep the same position group, or do you think there's
I don't know
kind of role?
It's it's hard to tell because in high school it's so much
just kind of where you're needed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like it's so much less like specialized.
Mm-hmm.
Where like if say we could lose like a tight ends coach, and I played tight end in grade school, but if I'm the one extra body that could do it and I'm willing to do it, then I'll go research and I'll coach tight ends.
Wasn't wasn't he like a quarterback coach at one point, and then he was like O-line? So like,
I have no idea. Really, he was O-line when we were there, and he's safeties now. So
yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Where they need you, kind of deal.
Right.
What's your ideal position? DBs. That's a perfect pick. I wouldn't even want to move.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I love the underclassmen I've built relationships with. It's I want to keep improving and transition that into next season. So I would love to stay with corners where I'm at right now.
It's like you're playing your own dynasty, man. Out there, just real life.
In a way, yeah. In a way.
That's sick, though. Like, that's one of the best things about coaching. It has to be. It's just the relationships you make.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
That's awesome. And just seeing everyone grow up and, like, succeed to the best.
Mm-hmm. And
that
especially
sounds corny as shit, but it's real.
Yeah, it is. And especially at the high school level, that's what's so special to me and unique about high school football is that you get to see these dudes actually grow like into men. Like when you send them off, they're 18.
Yeah.
When you first meet them, they're 14, 15 years old. Like you actually see that transformation.
That's probably the period of life where you really, like, you see the most just change in a person. Like if you showed a picture of freshman year of high school to senior year of high school, that's probably the biggest difference you're going to see.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And
it's true. But all right. So you think you'll stay on defense? Is that kind of
your I would imagine. My guess would be I would stay on defense for a long time.
And head coach, is it in the cards? Is it a desired position?
Oh yeah.
At some point. I mean, I guess you have to have some kind of goals like that.
I mean, like I said earlier, no matter where my path took me, whether it went to college or however far it took me, I always would want to come back to St. X, and the ultimate goal is I would want to be the head coach there.
All right.
Which it's weird to say as a 22-year-old because that's so far down the road. But
you're not saying this is going to happen in the next.
Yeah, like
2
I'm not
years,
I'm not gunning for Coach Wallace's job or anything.
Yeah, for sure.
Like he's one of the most winningest coaches in Kentucky high school history. I'm not saying that, but it's definitely something that's in the back of my mind, and it's something that keeps you motivated and keeps you wanting to improve.
Would you ever go anywhere else if like a head coach position was offered just to do it?
I would.
You would have to.
I would.
Just to try your shot at it.
I would. Yeah, I would. like I said, it's just, St. X, it's safe to say St. X is the place where I would finish up.
You're off to our hot start.
Yeah, I mean, couldn't start any better. Yeah, it's awesome.
Do you have a good shot for the game? Where there's a good group of people, like crowd?
The crowd was pretty good. It's tough to gauge because I'm a press box coach, or at least I was this season.
Damn.
So it's harder to tell, especially in like a college stadium because you're so much higher.
Yeah. That had to be a change up.
What, just being in the box?
Just seeing everything from that far away.
Well, we got, for the Trinity game, we saw it at Cardinal Stadium, so
That's
it
true.
wasn't, it wasn't shocking. Mm-hmm. But it is a lot different.
Can you really see well at all? Can you,
Yeah.
I guess you just watch your players. Like, that's what you do. You're not, like, watching a football game.
Not necessarily. Because really, the people up in the press box are watching, like we're watching offense. Like, so I'm watching, like, males, receivers run pass routes. And then if they complete it, we know what we need to do to cover it better. So it's actually weird because I really don't see my position play until I watch film.
Weird.
And so it's hard to, like, judge, like, substitutions and
I mean, I know it had you busy. Like, were you watching film, like, a lot?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. But that's, that comes with the territory and, that's something, it's enjoyable to me. Right. It's not like, it's not like a job, but.
And what are you doing for your job right now? I know you're finishing up school, but you're doing something else as well.
Yeah, so I'm working at a local Catholic grade school with their child development program, which is fancy for saying preschool.
That's what I hate that. It sounds like there's something wrong with them.
Oh, really? No, I mean,
just call it preschool.
Yeah, that's what, I don't know. It's the preschool and the pre-K, but I'm with the preschoolers, and so that's
And you're the athletic director, aren't you?
Technically, I am. Yeah, yes. The school has no athletic teams.
That is so awesome.
But I do.
You have no athletic teams?
No.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but
it's just like
but we have people who play sports with other schools, so I have to kind of mesh that.
That makes more sense.
But yeah.
More logistics kind of AD.
Yeah, exactly.
Just make sure
exactly
emails are going to the right email address.
Yeah.
For
so
drafts and stuff.
So yeah, I'm kind of all over the place.
You've been busy, dude. I
mean,
we don't even see you on Sundays.
Yeah, I know.
We always have people over football Sundays.
Yeah, and Sundays that's the biggest work day for game planning and watching film and stuff. So I'm busy all Sunday long.
That makes perfect sense because then you got Monday, first day of practice.
Yep.
Going at it.
But now the season's over and I'll have more free time.
You're freeing
You'll
out.
Be seeing me around.
And then the off season, will you be? I guess you'll start going to workouts when they January or whatever.
Yeah, when they get back after Christmas break. But that's 3 or 4 days a week, a couple hours after school. So it's nothing. It's not near the time.
Yeah.
Commitment that during the season is.
Well, here's the deal. When you become head coach, when my podcast becomes my job, I will also become a coach. I'll coach with you, Mike, and I'm sure Michael can attest my coachedness, if that's a word.
Never heard it, but we'll roll with it.
Because me and Mike are co-NCAA 14 head coaches for the Colorado Buffaloes.
Let's go Buffs.
So let's go Buffs. I'm wearing the shirt right now. And for some context, sophomore year of college, me, Mike, and some other guys lived in a house together. And me and Mike have always loved NCAA football. It honestly started before that. We were playing NCAA football dynasties together in high school.
Oh, yeah.
But anyways, we were living together now, so we could really, really do it out good sometimes. So there were many of nights playing probably 6 to 8 hours.
Easy, yeah.
Maybe not 8.
8's a lot.
But
I wouldn't put it past us.
I wouldn't put it past us because you get to the 12th game of the season, or like the 10th game of the season, you start seeing the end of it because your recruits are coming along and everything, and the team's doing well. Of course, we don't lose games. We lose some, but not many. We don't anymore, actually.
Yeah.
But anyways, you're like, I can't quit with we got to play 2 more games, and then it's the off season.
Exactly.
And then we get to go to the new season.
Yep.
We get to set the recruiting board up again. Do it all over again. Yes, multiple times.
Too many times.
Too many times. Probably not though. It was plenty of times.
Oh yeah.
My Xbox 360, because this is NCAA Football 14, guys. So I have to play it on my Xbox 360. We are now 2 generations ahead, meaning they've came up with a newer Xbox than the Xbox 360, and then a newer one than that. So my Xbox, it's not doing well. It actually rarely starts up, often freezes up, and sometimes the disc ejector does not come out. So that's where it's at now, and it worked well once you got it going. It might be past us now. I might have let it cool off for too long to where it's never gonna be able to do it. But that's okay, because I think we have a new college football game coming out soon.
Soon is a relative term.
Soon to be.
But
I thought I heard summer of 23.
I heard that too. I did a little when I was looking some stuff up before I came in here. That's what it said.
Where did you really? I didn't do that, but like that's because I already knew it. You know, that's how much I love it. But yeah, 2023. We're less than a month from 2022.
That's one more year.
We've waited almost. 2014. When did it come out? Probably 2013. The fall of 2013.
Yeah.
Maybe even before that, but like years, and it's been too long.
It has.
So in the spirit of a new game possibly coming, and our love for football, and you coaching, congratulations again on all you've done and succeeded with so far.
Why, thank you.
And we're going to go into some things that we need from the new college football game. We'll do a top 3 kind of list. I think I'm actually changing my list already because of something I was thinking of. But I'll let Mike start us off with his number. What do we want to do? Do we want to start from the back or from the top? Do we want to start out hot or come down to... I think we start this one from the top. You want to see your number
from 1?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's how you do it. The thing you need first.
Are we taking turns, or am I doing all 3 of mine?
Let's do turns. Let's bounce off each other.
Okay. All right. So to kick it off, number 1. I mean, this goes without saying. Almost, it's an absolute must with where the college game is nowadays. There's got to be some type of updated transfer portal with. With
transfer portal.
Yeah,
that's
with how much people are moving in and out.
That's a deep track there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it almost isn't though, just because of how common it is nowadays.
That's true. If you give someone the list, that's not what they're going for right off the bat. But I feel that,
transfer portal. That was the first thing that popped in my head.
Well, then I'm completely wrong, everybody.
But I do think your list is going to be better than mine because I did struggle thinking of some things. So.
Okay. Well, I think they'll be equally great. But so transfer portal, elaborate on it. How would you see it operating? Just like the transfer portal.
Just like, similar to how the recruiting system operated, but like over the off season, just a separate kind of like box, like your recruiting board, and then the transfer portal.
The more I'm thinking, that's a great thought. I mean, you would need a transfer portal. It's a great thought. You would need a transfer portal, absolutely, and I mean, yeah, absolutely, because you're going to lose people too.
Exactly.
You got to fight for that. So you're going to make recruiting a lot trickier too, because not only do you have to go after people,
right? Like when you make promises, like if you actually break your promise, that should be like an automatic enter in the transfer portal.
There needs to be more to recruiting like that, because just saying you're going to play or start as a freshman and they're a bust.
Right.
They're leaving.
Right.
They're leaving your school immediately. They're never coming back unless they're really just that bad and no one ever takes a shot on them.
Right.
Okay, I like that.
And that's for dynasty mode. I should have prefaced that. better.
See, my first one, what I had initially put is just like an in-depth dynasty mode. But at the same time, I'm going back and I'm seeing I'll say the number one thing I really need. Actually, no, it's still going to be Dynasty mode, and I'm not going to reveal what my other one was going to be because it is on my list. But yes, an in-depth Dynasty mode needs to exist in it. So some things I was kind of thinking of, like a preseason, just like little show. It doesn't have to be anything long. You know how 2K does, like little things like that, and definitely a pre-game show like that as well, like 2K.
Yeah,
no doubt, because that's awesome. They got Shaq on there and Ernie. Yeah. So they need that, and they need to just have some kind of understanding what's happening in the season. Like, it's not like it's just these other games that don't even exist in the same world.
Right.
Like, people, when they're talking on games or something, it's not just like a little blurb coming in where an FCS team is somehow beating Alabama week 1 because that simulated. When you played your game, that always happened week 1.
Facts.
If they were playing. But they need to have some kind of understanding of what's going on to where they're like, this game is huge for the conference because so-and-so is leading over here.
Right, how it affects the landscape.
All of that. And they have to have the understanding of the kind of seasons that players are having as well. So if someone's killing it, and I guess they somewhat had that sometimes. They say, oh, he's doing great, he's their impact player. But that's all it was, basically.
Yeah.
And like that was normally just on their rating. It wasn't even how they're like, it needs to be based on like stats, like how someone's performing. And with that, realistic simulation around the whole entire college football scope to where, I mean, those upsets should happen, of course, but ridiculous ones every time, no. Like, more often than not, the ranked team's going to win.
Yep, I completely agree. And I think that is no doubt would go hand in hand with the new game, because when you look at the latest sports games, the 2Ks and the Maddens, they do a better job of that, kind of pulling all that data together and doing a better job of filtering it and showing how it affects other parts.
Because there's so many more moving pieces in college as well.
Right. I mean, because it's easy to critique a video game from 2013, right?
It's a beautiful game.
Oh, it is. There's no doubt about it.
Ranking off top, I mean, it's definitely the best sports game I've ever played.
Yeah. There's no doubt.
The longest longevity, no doubt. I mean, we've been thirsting for this game so bad.
Yeah, since 2014.
And I got into things like storming the field, of course, needs to happen.
Yeah.
So just presentation things with, and I guess that's not fully in-depth Dynasty, but it is in the fact that it would have to have an understanding of how big and significant a game was for someone to storm the field.
Right.
So things like that. Also, rankings for recruits. They had that to an extent, but if you could see, they're like an Under Armour All-American.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Best player, like best receiver in the class. More in-depth kind of stats on what they've done.
Yeah, like season stats or something.
We just need more, because maybe someone doesn't have the rankings, like this. I don't even. What do you want to call them? They're just skills.
Yeah, attributes.
Yeah, they're attributes. Yeah. That's the word. So they're actual attributes. But what if they're just running for 3,000 yards?
Right.
And maybe you have to take into account that they're in, like, Wisconsin or Wyoming or something, and they're not playing anybody.
Right.
But it's just a whole different like level and in-depthness of how could really immerse you in the world. And that's the biggest thing that we just don't get from Madden at all.
Yeah.
It's pitiful how it does that. I think another cool thing to be a part of, just kind of understanding what someone's meant to a program and stuff, is there's a retired number threshold. So like if someone puts down enough stats to where, like, I don't know, the same way you give XP to make them rank up, and that needs to be a thing as well. They can't all just be 90s by the end.
Yeah.
Some people just shouldn't progress as much. Progression should be turned way down as well, because
that's true.
I mean, by the end, you've got a 3-star. Every 3-star is like a 90 plus if they stay for a hour.
I mean, your 3 quarterbacks are like 99.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. So it needs to be more realistic in that aspect. But yeah, a threshold for like, you got to a certain point, someone broke so many records or whatever, they had enough XP that you would have the option of retiring their number.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really cool. And then, of course, as your program grows, the ability to upgrade a stadium, get better facilities, because those are all the things that would go with it. Mm-hmm. And this is something we always talked about too, like draft classes. So realistically, tracking someone's performance to where it's like they would get drafted first round.
Right.
Because we'd always have a D end that, because you could cheese the hell out of a D end in NCAA Football 14. We'd just get monster amounts of sacks all the time. And they wouldn't even get drafted or something. Or like they'd be like a 6th round draft pick. And this was like, no, this isn't possible.
Right.
Like, this is ridiculous. So
That's
if you could really be rewarded and things made sense and they weren't just like, okay, that's just something they didn't put in the game. That's just a filler, essentially. That would be great. So, long one, but that was my big thing. An in-depth dynasty mode where you really get immersed into it. You feel like you're actually bringing a program back or just succeeding or playing with your favorite team and actually feeling a part of it in some kind of terms or regards. But number 2.
All right. We'll make it quick because it kind of ties into some of the stuff you just said. But going along with Dynasty mode,
we can rehash a little.
Incorporating like the financial side of athletics into it a little bit.
That's a new thing.
So like the better you do, the more money you make, so you can
upgrade
your facilities,
exactly.
Your stadium, your weight room.
Exactly.
You know,
that's how it would work.
Trickles down through recruiting and all that. So we pretty much just touched on all that, but that's
that's good input because that shows how those things would happen and kind of
right.
But NIL as well. That's something to think about. That's new. So
that's something I touch on that with number 3. Too,
okay, so. We'll get there. So number 2 for me, I put swag. We need swag.
I didn't even think of that. Yes.
Yeah, dude, we need good swag. We need realistic swag. We need options. We need baggy sleeves. We need scrunched long socks. We need it all.
It's true. We need to be able to adjust where you put your bicep bands.
We need tattoos.
Yep.
That'd be cool.
Yep.
Throw some tats, just a good old white linebacker with
the barbed wire tat.
Get the barbed wire tattoo. Brian Urlacher back there. It'd be awesome. Yeah, Brian Urlacher Jr. is just the same person as him.
Or a huge Samoan D-tackle with full tribal sleeves.
Every bit that just kind of comes back into it. But swag for sure. And it needs to be realistic too when they auto-generate players. Because once you
That's so broken.
It's so broken. Yeah. They got players wearing... I mean, I guess people do wear a lot of sleeves now, but no one wears the egg helmet. No one does any of those. No one wears neck rolls anymore, dude. Like, don't quit putting those on my players. No one wears them. You just look ridiculous. So, they need to be able to auto-generate players that just don't look idiotic on the football field. They don't look like just doofies from the 1990s or something. I don't know.
So it saves us time in our dynasty.
That as well, because we were big on that. We had to update it. I would still do it.
Oh, yeah.
I would for sure.
At this point, it's ingrained in my nature of playing a dynasty.
Well, you got to fill out the player's vibe,
100%.
You got to get some... That's what makes it better. And we'll go back to this all the time, is because as nerdy as it may have been, we really did immerse ourselves in the whole aspect of it. Mike, would you play the first half or the second half? We've switched off before.
We've done both, but for the bulk of it, I was second half.
What we settled in on, what did us well, was I was first half, Mike was second half. We would help each other with recruiting. Like, we really immersed ourselves in it. It had so much fun. And you become attached to those players. It's a fucking video game. I know it. But that's the fun in video games. That's why you play them. You want to immerse yourself in them. So, that for sure. You got to be able to give them that vibe because you get that personal attachment in that way. And along with the swag, unique player builds. You get what I'm saying? Like you got a Robbie Anderson, skinny, thin bean kind of guy.
Right.
And you got some
yeah, I
big
get
old boys.
that. Because if anybody familiar with the game understands, if you have like a 6'5" receiver, you can put his weight at 140, but he's still gonna look just jacked out on the field because it just doesn't. The proportions just didn't match up like that.
There just needs to be some body builds.
Yeah, which I think again, with it being, more in the present time, would be fixed a little bit.
That's what scares me, Mike, because we all know Madden.
Yeah.
And as much as they've said that they've done it, to an extent they have. Some players look different, but some don't. And they're, I don't know, the shoulder patches don't look good. They run so goofy. You would think we were better than it by now.
Yeah, it's true. And football is hard, sport to get accurate. Like 2K is so much easier to look realistic. Yeah. And the motions are, not people running into each other all the time, or
it's true as well. There's not as much
movement.
There's a lot of contact, and I think they do it better. I think 2K would make a better football game.
I'd like to see that.
I would love to see it, and I hope it. I think they are doing something. I think there's some kind of 2K. It might be arcadey though, so it's not. It can't be because EA has the sole basically proprietorship to NFL football, like simulation NFL football is what they always say.
Gotcha.
So 2K's making an arcadey game, but I think COVID might actually put it back. Like I don't know if they're still doing it or not. So I would love to see 2K do it, but I'm gonna skip you for third because this just fits in too well for my third thing that I need from this game. I need it to not be Madden.
Thinking outside the box there.
I need it to not be Madden. I need it to be unique. I understand there's going to be there'll probably be some recycled animations, but please don't give me fucking Madden. I don't want it. The only reason I'll play Madden now is because I just want to play a football game.
Yep.
And it's like, I think this is a saying, it's like eating tofu. I don't really eat tofu, so I can't speak to it, but it's not filling the same way that like a steak would be.
Yeah.
So you're satiated, and you're good. You can live, but you're just not really that pleased.
Yeah.
I think you might like tofu.
I like tofu.
Yeah. I was reading the room there, and I was like, I think Mike might eat some tofu.
No, I get what you're saying though. And
it makes sense.
As soon as
and it's also not my saying. It's completely someone else's. I don't know whose, but.
But I'm with you. As soon as NCAA comes out, I'm throwing Madden out the window. Not gonna touch it again.
Yeah.
But
even if it's the same game,
even if they give us Madden, still not playing Madden, and I'll just play NCAA just because the whole thing that we just talked about, that we spent time talking about, makes it so much better.
Well, the way EA has skimped us for so long is not giving us any layers, and that's because pro football is a lot different. There's a lot less layers to it. Essentially what they can do in a franchise is what it's called, is you just basically play a season, pay your players, and maybe draft a couple.
Yeah.
It's so much different. There's way less to it. You play the same teams often, and you do in college football as well, but there's more variety, there's more options, there's a lot of more people who you could play. Recruiting is way more I guess involved than just drafting a player.
Yeah, that's a good word.
And who the hell scouts players? I really don't do that much.
I do.
Well, that's what you have to do to get anything out of it. But I feel like it's
I'm
still.
with you, yeah.
I feel like the scouting's still shitty.
It is, and you just click A 3 times, and
that's what I've done. I've done it, but it's like I didn't feel any reward from any of it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you.
There's no gaining someone's interest week to week based upon your performance, which is another part that should be in recruiting. If someone comes to your team and you get your ass waxed, you shouldn't they should be like, nah, I don't know about this place, you know?
Yeah.
But not mad at
You meant on the field, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good one. Well, both ways, you know. Either way, if you're getting your ass waxed, you should probably just leave that school. You should probably just leave that one.
To each their own.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll finish up here with the list with my third thing. I spent 2 on Dynasty mode. Now I want to talk about Road to Glory.
Okay. I like that.
And it essentially just needs to have the same feel as the NBA 2K in my career. Mm-hmm. So, you know, a decent story, not over the top. 2K's gotten a little over the top with it these last couple of years.
I agree, man. That's one thing. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
But even in the Dynasty, like, I don't want any cutscenes.
Yeah.
I don't want any of that.
Yeah.
I just want them to be aware of what's happening in the season, just with like the little ESPN magazines they put out, or Sports Illustrated, like talking about it, or just a segment that they may throw up. Don't do any kind of cutscenes where you're watching your coach talk to someone. It's awful. It's horrible. I really don't like it in any games. And I'm so torn because 2K used to do it well, but they don't anymore.
Yeah. So maybe a little. I mean, you'd have to have a little bit of that, especially with like a Heisman presentation or recruiting trips, whatever it is. But with my career now, like choosing street clothes, being able to like walk around, get your hair cut, get tattoos. With NIL now, get sponsorships and endorsements and do all that kind of thing. So something that essentially looks a lot like the NBA 2K My Career, just molded into a college football player.
That makes sense. I get that for sure. And one game that does that really well for like story mode, they don't do any real cutscenes. MLB The Show. It's great. Have you played it?
No.
It's probably one of the best. It's a different game too because you can get through games so quick because you just skip to when you're either fielding the ball or hitting the ball. But what they do basically is if you perform well for however long, like they'll do a little cutscene where they're talking about you and you have a story, but it's more like reporters reporting on you is how you get the story instead of just like stupid cutscenes where you're in a field of hay doing a maze, a hay maze at fall. I think that was one of the 2K scenes. And that's when it was like, dude, just let me play.
What are we doing?
Let me play the game. This is stupid. I'm playing pickup basketball on a dirt court out here.
Yeah.
Get this out of here. Let me just play in the fucking NBA. Well, I think we've covered pretty much all we really wanted to tonight. Yeah. I think it's been really well. It's been really good. Not really well, but it's been really good.
I agree. I've enjoyed it.
I like having everyone on. It's because it is weird up front. You know, you sit down and you're like, I'm just gonna talk across the table for however long. But you start getting into it. You have some interesting things to talk about. And I know our love for NCAA football is a good way to kind of get going, get rolling, and everything.
Yeah, that helped.
And also, like your story about coaching, that's awesome, dude. I'm very proud of you. It's really awesome to see our friends starting to do some really cool things.
Yeah, I feel that. And it was great, to feel all the love from everybody too.
Sick, dude.
It's awesome.
Yeah, just doing this, like people just text and say like, I think it's really cool you're doing this. They probably don't even like it. They might not even have listened. Like, yeah, it's cool you're doing that.
Yeah. And
just to know that people actually appreciate you and what you do and are happy for you. It's an awesome thing.
No doubt.
Very, very cool. So, well, thanks for coming, Mike. I'm definitely going to have you back on. When are we going out to Utah again? That's a good question.
That is a great question.
I don't know why.
I don't know the answer, but I was wearing my Moab hoodie, so maybe.
What are the odds?
Maybe it just kind of subconsciously got in your head there.
I almost put mine on, but I put the Buff shirt on. I did,
but
I thought about my Moab shirt, so. I like that interlinking there. That just must mean we need to go back. I think that's one of the best times I've had in a bar.
Oh, really?
Really, dude.
Wow.
So on St. Patty's Day, we're in Moab, Utah, we were camping out, but we went in for the town just because it was St. Patty's Day. It was a camping trip. Went out to the bar for St. Patty's Day, and it was actually the last night that everything was open in town because COVID was just coming on. So it was like March of 2020.
Yeah.
So like shit was basically hitting the fan. I remember we were sitting out on the sidewalk and someone like drove down the street screaming, "Go home. This isn't a joke. Go home." Like screaming to everyone out there, which was bizarre in itself. But anyways, we were at this bar on St. Patty's Day for the last night before COVID, and it was a great time. We had green beer. We had green mouse
for days.
For days, it was a great time. But we need to get back out there for sure. That was a great trip.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
Maybe fly this time.
Yeah.
Maybe fly.
Yeah,
Driving
probably
24
fly.
hours isn't.
It was a great memory, and it was all good for the experience. But
no doubt.
I think
also maybe an Airbnb. We might not need to camp.
Yeah,
again.
Or maybe like camp a couple days, Airbnb a couple others.
Very good point. Very good point.
We can iron out the details later.
That's right. Well, I actually just realized something that I completely forgot. If you didn't somehow hear a glass maybe hitting a table, that's because I had my wine to my right. Mike also had a glass of wine. So we're going to say goodbye here. Mike, thank you for coming.
Absolutely.
We'll do a little clinky to end it.
Can't wait to be back.
Clinkly. Thank you all for tuning in. Peace.